and welcome back to my channel. Thank you everybody for being here. My name is Cornelia. I make videos on starting a candle business, living the life of an entrepreneur, and building the life of my dreams. If you're new here, I live in Calgary, Alberta. I'm from the East Coast though. I moved to Calgary about 3 years ago from Toronto, and there's been a lot of changes since. So I make content on building my businesses, day in the life videos, and some travel adventure content mixed in there too, because I love that. And if you're looking to find out more about me, corneliaaudrey.com. I also run a lifestyle blog with my best friend called Living in Lifestyle. You can check that out. And my candle page, North Star Candle Co. is also linked below. So all of the information you might want to check out is down below. Anyways, I don't want to waste any time. In today's video, this has been a top asked video. About a month and a half ago, I made a content about starting my candle business. It got a lot of views. Thank you so much for following along. It looks like candle content is really popular, so I'm going to keep making more of those videos. But this video has been asked multiple times, an income versus expenses breakdown. So I'm going to show you my expenses and the income that I've made since starting a candle business. I started the business like last winter. I started buying supplies, but I didn't launch the business until like June. So basically I'm only about 6 to 7 months in terms of like being out in the public, but I was prepping last January, February to launch in June. So I'm going to break down all of my expenses first, and then I will dive into income, and I'll let you know if it's been worth it so far and if I've come out even. Make sure you watch till the end to find out the final numbers, but I will link chapters below if you're curious on certain sections. So let's dive right in. Set up here at my computer. I'm gonna run through expenses and then we'll dive into income. So the first thing I want to say is that I have a budget tracker. I've always tracked my spending ever since I was a kid, like in an old-fashioned notebook. I stopped for a few years in my 20s when I was working in television because I was making more money and I didn't have any extra time in my life, so I like didn't prioritize it. But I've noticed ever since, starting my own business and having different revenue streams, it's really important for me to know what's coming in and what's going out. Lesson learned, next year I'm separating my business finances from my personal finances. Right now they're all in the same chart, just different categories, and that gets really confusing because when I look at my end of the year spending, it looks like I spent a lot more because I have all my business spending wrapped into my total. So every month it's like, oh my god, you went over, but it's because you have to spend money to make money, and I really need to focus this year keeping my personal expenses and my personal income separate from my business. So what I'm going to show you here today is just my candle expenses section, but pro tip, if you're starting a business, definitely keep the income and expenses separate. So I'm just doing a screen recording here, so I'll probably just pop that on the screen as I talk and then I'll cut back and forth. But let's take a look here at the monthly totals. I also feel like this year I need to change my categories. Like, this is a big learning experience for all of us. I notice I have separate categories for wick, scents, and tools, and then I've got wax, and then I've got jars and labels, and a lot of the time I'm purchasing those things all at the same time. So that doesn't really make sense because like I could spend $700 on wax and scents, but they're in two different categories. So that gets confusing. I think in 2024 I'm gonna separate it into like just candle making supplies all in one category, because most of the time I am purchasing a lot of things together. So that's gonna make it more clear, but we'll just go line by line and I'll elaborate. So wicks, scents, tools. This is like anytime I'm buying my wood wicks, my cotton wicks, any sort of scent and any sort of tool. So basically picture anything to make a candle. So in January, I did a big haul at Windy Soap Point, which is a company based out of Calgary. I got some like test jars. I got some scents and wax for $322.18. Same thing again the next month. I think I was testing things, $125.96. Nothing in March, nothing in April, and then May was like prepping for the June market because I launched to the public in June at Lilac Festival. So that was in like a really big market in Calgary. So I was prepping for that in May, and then nothing in June for making candles. July, I started bringing candles to stores out in BC. So of course I was just like topping up my supplies for $194.30. August was $279.91, and so on and so on. November's really high because I had to get ready for the holidays. There was a lot of purchasing of like holiday scents and certain vessels and stuff. So that all added up. Anyways, the grand total for that category is $2,463.97 for the year. Just to speed this process up a little bit, I'm not going to go into every single month, but I'll just kind of read the grand totals. So for wax, as much as I could keep it separate, my grand total was $1,102.79. For my jars and my labels, I do order my signature jars on their own, so these prices were accurate. My holiday line, I did order from the same company I got some of my scents from, which is Village Craft & Co. based out of Ontario. But if we look at jars specifically, like my signature line, in April I bought 144 pieces for $887.20. Now it was cheaper, but once you like online, but then when you do the conversion and from American to Canadian, it sucks. And then I paid for shipping because it was a pretty big shipping rate as well for that many vessels. And then I didn't do another big order of jars until September, and that was $1,057.59. Again, it's only higher because of the exchange rate, so that sucks. October, November, December were again like kind of a mix of my holiday line jars and then any of my labels that I've had to buy. So that was $3,601.53. I think that's the biggest expense, was the jars. And then market fees. So anytime I do a market, I have to pay to be in it. Some are higher than others. The going rate is like $200 for the night. So my total for market fees this year, some of the holiday markets were cheaper because they were only a few hours long, which was nice, but my total for markets was $1,591.25. Then market decor and tech, this number is going to be a lot higher in year one because obviously I had to get stuff for my market table. So like my tablecloth, flowers, vases for my decor, my shelf. I had to do a lot of printing of like my bio or like signs for the table. So yeah, those numbers definitely add up. I think May was my shelf, so that was over $100 to buy, and yeah, I think it'll calm down in 2024. Then we have packing and shipping supplies. So that's like Uline orders, like tissue, paper, boxes to ship things, bags for my markets, packing paper, stuff like that. That's like shipping supplies. So that is $779.54. I'm not sure why that's so high, but I know that it'll be less this year because I have a lot left over. For tech, really the only tech I think I bought was my square machine for taking purchases, and I actually know what the other one was, my label printer, which I barely use. I just get Canada Post to print off my labels, so I don't know if that was worth it. Maybe when I'm bigger and I have more packages to ship out, the Munbin printer will be useful, but I haven't really touched it, so that was a bit of a waste of money. Branding is another cost. I had done a bulk of branding actually in 2022 when I first started, and then I let it sit for months. So I think branding, I already talked about that. So the only extra charge on branding this year, I paid somebody to help with my branding, $288.75, plus like the $500 I had spent the year before. And they also got everything set up in my Canva, so that was super helpful. So the business promo is like candle care cards or like business cards is what that expense is. So I spent $233.50 on that this year. And then we move on to employee pay. So it's anytime I paid somebody to help me with my business. So like for example, I had a friend come out and help me at Lilac Festival in June because it was like an 9 hour long day. So she just covered me when I got lunch and stuff like that. So I bought her lunch and some drinks that day. So there's that. I also paid my friend who works with me on a lot of different projects. I paid her in May to design my business cards and candle care cards, and then she helped me again in December, just kind of setting up my Etsy. Or I think she'd helped me in October, November, but I paid her in December. So then that total was $335.23, which is like not very much. I'd like to eventually get somebody working for me part-time, but I need to be bringing in a lot of money before I can do that. And then shipping is quite big. So I had a really big deal with a client at the end of the year where I did custom candles, and they were based out of Toronto. So a lot of these shipping costs like were reimbursed, but I'm just like, basically I know everything that went out and everything that came in. So total shipping was $949.78, and the bulk of that was probably those custom candle orders. But also shipping is really expensive, and Canada Post charges you an arm and a leg to send a tiny package. So that's frustrating, really eats into my profit margins. And then rent was just for this one store that I was in. They charged rent for 3 months plus, that was 3 months total for 2 stores in the mall, 2 malls in Calgary. And so that was $355. I haven't been paid for that yet. So that, I actually don't know how much I've made. Their accounting is not very good. So when I do my income part of the video, I'm pretty sure that's missing. I'll probably get an update on that soon, and then I'll have to update the video, but yeah, we'll see. So yeah, those are my expenses. The grand total for the year, $12,551.46. So if people tell you that you don't need much money to start a candle business, I would like to argue that. Depends on the type of candle business you're starting. Obviously, if you're just doing it for fun and a hobby, then obviously it's not going to cost this much money, but that's a lot of money. So like I said, a lot of this is like, I did have a lot of expenses at the end of the year because I did this custom candle order, and I was paid back for those expenses, which is good. Shipping, and then just getting myself off the ground. So yeah, I'm curious how this year will look. So this is about, this is a full year's worth of expenses. So now let's dive into income and see how it balances out. To the income section. So I just noticed, because I keep track of my income and expenses in 2 different places. I've got my Excel sheet, and then I also have just like a doc on my computer where I track things. So the doc on my computer for my income, I track literally every payment that comes in, who it's coming in from, where it's coming in from, and then the total. But then on Excel, I just have the monthly income totals. So I'm only gonna show you the Excel doc because you don't need to know every single person that paid me. But I noticed there's a $100 discrepancy. My doc on my computer is $100 more than my Excel doc. So I'm gonna have to go through the year and recalculate again, but $100 I'm not too worried about. If that's what's off, it's not a big deal, but learning. A lot of numbers, a lot of receipts, a lot of expenses. So obviously I didn't make any money January, February, March, April, or May because I wasn't selling my candles. So those were months where I was spending but not making any money. So to be honest with you, I don't see this as a first year in business. I won't see my business as celebrating 1 year until June, because that's when I started making money and launched it to the public. So obviously this video is not like, oh, my first year in business, because I know a lot of the time businesses don't even break even in their first year. I'm like 7 months in and I'm almost broken even. But I'm hoping to really see a big change there in the next 6 months. So June, I made $377.44 at Lilac Festival, which I will not do Lilac Festival again. It was $500 to be at the market, so I actually lost money. I'm glad I did it. It was a good deadline for me. I learned a lot and I met a lot of great people, but financially it wasn't smart. July, that was $180, and that was basically just from like friends purchasing, and I got into a store in BC. August, again, was like friends, and then I got into a second store in BC. September was a lot of family and friends purchasing. I was going back to Ontario at the time, so I brought candles with me. It was a lot of people I knew purchasing, which was great, and I did 2 night markets. October, $662. So I had run out of my signature jars as of the end of September. So October was slower because I didn't have many jars. This was just like income from those stores. I think, honestly, it might not even been that. I think it was, let me check actually, I can tell you. Okay, yeah, so October was friends purchasing, payment from the stores in BC, and then also I did a custom collaboration with a woman who owns, who works for a spa, and she was doing custom candles for her clients. So I made some money doing custom candles that month. And then this is where it really picks up. November, December. Woo! This is like what I want to see more often. November, 2,355.06. So at this point, I started getting an income from being in F45, which is the gym I work out at. I was like their business of the month, so that was great. I did a few markets in November, and then also people getting ready for the holidays, and Etsy started being incorporated then. And then December was my best month yet. This does include a custom candle order, so because my expenses were so much higher in November, December, a lot of this income was just paying that off. Basically, I spent on that collaboration, that's the big one I was telling you about, like over $2,000. So a lot of that was paid back to me, plus I made a labor rate on that. And then I did have a really, really good night market in December as well. That was like $900 in revenue, which is great. And then a few other markets as I wrapped up the year. So yeah, Q4 was definitely my best time of year, clearly. My total, if this is correct, if it's not, it's like $100 off, but let's just say this is 100% correct, $9,688.63. So looking at the grand total, income versus expenses, I did not break even. But I'm not too upset about it because I only started making money in June. If I had started making money in January or February, things would look a lot different. And I should do another video in June to let you know where I've ended up officially a year in. So I'm pretty proud of myself. Obviously, it's a lot to start a business, but a lot of these expenses that I put out in my first 6 months won't really be as active in 2024. Like I said, market decor, shipping supplies, like I still have all that stuff. So that's gonna save a few $100, and then also branding, that's gonna save a few $100. I also, know where to get certain scents now. I know where to get certain jars now. I don't need to test as many scents. So there's a lot of things that, like trial and error, that will no longer be accounted for in 2024. My goals this year, I should probably do another video on that, but I definitely want to be doing more wholesale. I want to do more custom collaborations. So if you are getting married this year, if you are a business owner, if you are in need of custom candles, I'm your girl, because I want to do more of that. I also want to be in more retail stores. So I'm going to make a goals video, I think, but that's where I'm at. I love doing markets. I love interacting with the community, but a lot of the time when a market's $200 and you make like $400, all of that time and energy to make $200, and that doesn't even include like your supplies, you're walking away with maybe like $100. That's a lot of energy output for not that much money. And I don't just do candles, so I don't have a lot of extra time, and eventually I want to have a family and I'm gonna have even less time. So that's like moving into 2024. But these are my 6 month totals. I hope you found this interesting. Let me know what you think, and I will make another video soon, just kind of talking more about my process. If you have requests on videos, please let me know below. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll talk soon. Bye.